2025, the pivotal year of Cycle 9. Those who catch the rhythm will soar, while those who lag behind will be left behind. There are years that pass quietly, like an introductory passage that no one remembers. Yet there are others that, even before they begin, compel those sensitive to the times to pause, look deeper, and rethink everything. The year 2025 is such a year. It is neither noisy nor sensational, nor is it a tumultuous milestone like the pandemic year of 2020, but it is precisely that stillness that conceals an immense transformation in the current of fate. If you understand the laws of qi and fortune in the Eastern tradition, you will recognize 2025 as the hinge of a 20-year cycle called Cycle 9. Cycle 9 is not merely a vague concept. It is an energy field that began to envelop the world in 2024 and will govern everything, from the destiny of nations to the fate of each individual, over the next 2 decades. Those who fail to grasp this will find their lives suddenly out of sync, while those who catch the rhythm will experience reality flowing strangely smoothly, without haste or force, but with perfect timing. Dear readers, in the ancient Xiankong doctrine, the energy of fortune is divided into 20-year cycles. From 2014 to 2023, the world was in Cycle 8, the cycle of mountains, earth, accumulation, stability, and foundations. Those who lived steadily, invested in hard assets such as land and real estate, and built firm foundations prospered. But in 2020, Cycle 9 began, and 2025 marks the first year the door fully opens for those who truly know how to transform. Cycle 9 corresponds to the Li trigram, symbolizing fire, light, speed, vision, intellect, spirit, and feminine energy. It is the era of scholarship, communications, imagery, invisible influence, and rapid dissemination. Industries that once thrived in Cycle 8 will now begin to decline. Those who prospered by clinging to stability and land will find themselves slow and weighed down. Conversely, those who are agile, flexible, and deep in thought will rise. The year 2025 will not, by itself, change anyone's life, but it will serve as a clear mirror reflecting whether you are in tune with the spirit of the age. Are you still living with the mindset of Cycle 8, or have you upgraded yourself for Cycle 9? Talent alone does not guarantee success, and diligence alone does not ensure progress. In Cycle 9, those who thrive are aligned with the prevailing energy, on the right wave, at the right frequency. Like swimmers who know how to use the current, they travel farther and expend less effort than those flailing against the flow. Many are exhausted not because they lack strength, but because they live out of sync with the times. The year 2025 is the time to pause and adjust. There is no longer time to miss the beat. The ancients taught that those who align with heaven endure, while those who defy heaven perish. He who aligns with the heavenly energy survives, whereas he who opposes it self-destructs. This is not divine punishment, but the natural consequence of being out of tune. So, what is the energy of Cycle 9? Who will thrive, and who will be left behind? What lifestyles, mindsets, energies, and professions will endure over the next 20 years? Most importantly, what should you do in 2025 to stay in sync? No one asks you to change everything overnight, but if you continue to live as you have in the past 5 years, do not expect the next 5 years to be different. The energy has changed, and those who do not adapt will be silently discarded by the tide of the times. In the upcoming 10-part journey, we will decode each layer of Cycle 9 together, exploring the inner self, energy, and action, examining the relationship between celestial energy and personal energy so that you not only understand but truly transform yourself to catch this new cycle as it unfolds. This is the space for reflection, the moment for reconstruction, and the year for a timely new beginning. To understand why 2025 is the pivot year, we must return to the fundamentals. What is a cycle, and why is Cycle 9 different from those before it? In the ancient Xiankong flying star doctrine, time is divided into major energy cycles of 20 years, each called a cycle. Each cycle carries a dominant energy, an unseen force that governs every current of life, from human psychology to social trends, to the rise or decline of industries, institutions, and individuals. From 2014 to 2023, the world was in Cycle 8, associated with the mountain. The mountain embodies quiet stability and inner cultivation. Those who thrived in cycle 8 knew how to accumulate, wait for the right moment, and lay solid foundations. They focused on material and practical matters. Industries such as real estate, construction, asset finance, and long-term investment flourished. Those who held on prospered, and those who maintained stability prevailed. From 2024 to 2043, the world enters cycle 9, associated with fire, light, speed, vision, intellect, spirit, and feminine energy. The energy of Li is explosive, expansive, light, and sharp. It does not rest. It moves continuously, and it does not favor the heavy, the slow, or those clinging to old ways. Although cycle 9 began in 2024, only in 2025 does it truly take shape and manifest clearly. A new cycle always requires a year to gather energy, much like a great wave must build strength before breaking ashore. The year 2022 was transitional, with the old not yet ended and the new not yet fully risen. But 2025 is the first year when the Li energy reigns completely. From this year on, those who catch the right wave and understand its nature will be like boats driven by the wind, traveling farther and faster even with the same push. So, what is the essence of Li, the dominant energy of cycle 9? First, Li is fire, light, vision, and communication. Everything that spreads quickly and touches the human mind through sight and perception will be exalted. Industries such as content creation, media, design, film, fashion, energy, technology, healing, education, spirituality, innovation, and the arts will be uplifted by the Li energy. Second, Li is feminine energy, not in a gendered sense, but as yin, subtle, supple, and adaptable. In cycle 9, success does not belong to those who strain and force, but to those who flow with the current, knowing when to advance and when to retreat. The Li energy favors those who can sense rather than those who merely seek to control. Third, Li is intellect, but not mechanical intelligence. It is intelligence combined with intuition and inner depth. Those who know how to remain silent, observe, and listen without haste will grasp this energy more quickly than those who are loud and eager to win. Fourth, Li is upliftment. If you are light, you will soar. If you are heavy, burdened by past worries, attachments, or possessions, you will be left behind. Over the 20 years of cycle 9, we will witness remarkable phenomena. Those who seemed silent will suddenly rise. Industries once marginal will become central, and values once seen as soft will become powerful. This is because the Li energy supports influence through frequency rather than through status or wealth. Some will enter 2025 carrying old baggage, mindsets, reactions, and habits, and they will find every effort growing burdensome. Others will not change outwardly but will adjust inwardly. They will strive less, hurry less, live more subtly, observe more deeply, and align their internal energy more appropriately. They learn not to go fast, but to go correctly, and then everything comes to them as water follows the right channel. 2025 is the moment of choice. Cling to what worked in cycle 8 or dare to let go and live lightly in cycle 9. Persist in doing a lot but offbeat, or learn to do less but do it right. The ancients taught, when the time to fish arrives, success is extraordinary. Even the fisherman can achieve greatness, not because of superior skill, but because of perfect timing. What truly matters is not your strength or weakness, but whether you are in tune with the spirit of the times. When you are in tune, everything feels effortless. When you're offbeat, the harder you try, the more exhausted you become. You needn't change everything in 2025, but if you don't begin observing the energy around you, examining your heart, and adjusting your rhythm, you will gradually fall behind. There will be no dramatic warning, just the quiet realization that what once worked no longer does. That is the natural operation of cycle 9. It does not rebel or roar, it simply slides you out of the game if you are not light enough to ride its current. Remember, 2025 is a silent gateway. Those who are awake will pass through. Those still chasing noise will slip by without knowing what they missed. Most are left behind not for a lack of talent, but because they fail to notice the shift in energy. Cycle 9 makes no announcement of its arrival. It does not knock. It makes no fanfare. It is not a visible storm. It seeps into your thoughts, your decisions, your unconscious reactions every day. And if you pay attention, you will see people who caught Cycle 9's wave early, even without naming it. You notice their light tread, their withdrawal from fruitless contests, their change of job, their shift in environment, their pursuit of new skills, their recalibrated habits, and the exhausted connections they've let go. They do not follow a trend. They sense that an old era has ended, even though no one told them so. What about you? Do you notice your surroundings changing? Do you see those you once deemed slow suddenly sprinting ahead? Do the things you clung to start to feel unstable? None of this is coincidence. It is clear evidence that Cycle 9 has taken shape, and those who catch its wave travel far. How can you tell if you're in sync with Cycle 9? No need for star charts or calculations. Just observe yourself. Those aligned with the new energy exhibit clear signs. First, they become light, not in weight, but in mind, in reaction, in attachment. They gradually stop trying to control others. They no longer argue just to prove a point. They drop the need always to be right, to be superior, to be recognized. They do not retreat, but they also do not chase. They are not flashy, but they are not invisible. Their presence is quiet yet profound. Second, they are flexible. They do not cling to a fixed role, identity, or definition of self. They are willing to relearn, restart, and reinvent. They never say, "I can't." When faced with something new, they ask, "What perspective do I need to shift to understand this?" They may have worked within a system before, yet they are unafraid to step outside and begin anew. They may have been silent, yet now share their unique value. They may know nothing of technology, yet adapt one step at a time. They need not be fast, but they refuse to remain static. Third, they step back from noise. Those in tune with Cycle 9 do not strive to speak more. They grow quieter to listen to their inner depth. They recognize that the louder the noise, the easier it is to lose direction. They choose to move deliberately, without the need to appear everywhere, only present at the right time, in the right place, with the right people. Fourth, they live by energy rather than theory. Those aligned with the times become attuned to the intangible. They sense the atmosphere, they notice emotions. Upon entering a space, they can tell whether it suits them within minutes. They know which relationships drain their energy. They recognize what exhausts them even when the workload is light. Because Cycle 9 is an energetic realm, those who are weighed down by materialism, rigid logic, and hardness drift off course. Those who live in feeling, empathy, and authenticity gradually resonate with its flow. Fifth, they do not act merely to achieve, but to keep the right rhythm. You will see that they no longer chase money at any cost. They still work, still live, still move forward, but without panic or being swept away. They no longer ask, "How much must I earn?" but, "Am I living in harmony with my own energy?" They come to understand, money does not arrive because we crave it, but when we live in flow, with right timing, right action, and right intention. No one can teach this. Only failure, awakening, and experience reveal it. Thus, you need not become someone else to align with Cycle 9. You need only return to yourself, deeper, lighter, and more awake. Conversely, those most at risk of being left behind in Cycle 9 also display unmistakable signs. They grow increasingly fatigued despite not doing more. They lose passion for their old roles, yet fear making a change. They repeat the same thought patterns, the same blame games, the same reactions. They cling to the old ways, critique others, but refuse to self-reflect. Worst of all, they fail to see they are falling behind. They still believe they are fine, still think that if they try a bit harder, they can return to their former success. But the energy has shifted, and those who do not shift with it will only drift farther off course the more they struggle. If you find yourself out of sync, don't panic. 2025 still offers time to adjust. You need not quit your job tomorrow, switch industries immediately, or abandon everything. Begin by observing yourself. What energy are you living by? Old reactions or new circumstances, ego or truth, fear or understanding? The moment you start asking these questions, you've stepped one foot into the new energy, and the rest will follow naturally. One of the biggest questions for those awakening to Cycle 9 is, if the energy has shifted, which professions and lifestyles will be supported in this era, and what adjustments are needed to avoid being worn down by its currents? First, understand this. Energy does not choose a profession, it chooses the energetic nature of the profession. It's not that profession A will flourish and B will wither. Fields whose inherent energy resonates with the prevailing chi will ascend, while those moving against the current will slow, sink, and eventually vanish. As we've noted, Cycle 9's energy is that of fire, light, communication, knowledge, rapid dissemination, emotion, refined intellect, intuition, personal magnetism, vision, and soft power. Professions that embody these qualities will thrive. Those rooted in rigidity, slowness, heaviness, and old material accumulation will lose their vitality. Look around and you'll see this happening. Personal media is booming. Video content, podcasts, voice, imagery, and expression become new assets. Educators, healers, therapists, coaches, guides, and counselors in psychology and mindset find greater attention. Writers, artists, speakers, sharers, designers, image editors, voice actors, and storytellers rise. Sellers no longer sell just products, they sell feelings. Technologists can no longer remain impersonal because user experience reigns supreme. Entrepreneurs cannot focus solely on profit, they must convey ideals. Why? Because Cycle 9 turns us toward intangible energy, things we cannot see but can feel, things we cannot measure yet which hold great sway. Like the tone of your voice, your presence, your intuition, your inner strength, your ethics, your sincerity. Difficult to describe but unmistakable when encountered in person. Therefore, anyone seeking to catch the new zeitgeist of Cycle 9 should begin by asking themselves 3 questions. 1. Does your current work make you feel light or weighed down? Do you go to work with joy or with a sense of constriction? Are you exhausted from wearing a mask too long? Could you do this for another 5 years and still feel whole inside? If the answer is no, no matter how good the income, you are already offbeat with the energy. 2. Does your work serve others on an energetic level? Does it heal, awaken, inspire, bring light, relieve someone's pain or darkness or burden? Or is it merely repetitive, oppressive, transactional, demanding? In Cycle 9, every field must carry some element of value that radiates outward. You don't have to be in a healing profession to heal. A heartfelt cook heals through food. A compassionate hairdresser uplifts through touch. What matters is the intention, the energy, and the awareness you bring to your work. 3. Are the 3 roles you choose flexible? If you lose one tomorrow, can you reinvent it? If the environment changes, can you adapt? If old methods no longer work, do you know how to pivot? Cycle 9 doesn't reward those who cling. It rewards those with deep flexibility. You may not need to change your occupation, but you must change how you do that work and change who you are as you do it. Some industries are destined to fall away. Any work that is heavy in physical labor, heavy in process, heavy in hierarchy, heavy in control, heavy in rules, heavy in tools, heavy in fixed assets, will begin to slow. Those who live by accumulation, land, inventory, money, without creating new value will become misaligned. Not because they are wrong, but because the energy no longer supports them. They work harder and catch nothing, weary but clueless as to why. The more they cling, the more they fall behind. As the saying goes, in stillness there is trickery. To ride the new energy, one must be light. Those who know how to shake off weight will fly with Cycle 9. This is also the era of new waves. Those who surf it understand the nature of spread. You don't need to be supremely skilled. Just strike the right chord with the right audience at the right frequency and you'll lead, live, and influence. You don't need credentials or a prestigious title. You only need to be authentic, speak honestly, and share your journey with kindness, because that is the energy Cycle 9 calls forth. 2025 is the year to ask yourself, what energy am I living by? Why do I do this work? Does my frequency match the job I do? And if you change nothing, where will you be 5 years from now? Don't wait until 2028 to 2030 to look back, because the spirit of the age waits for no one. For many years of Cycle 8, people worshipped skills. What you know, what you excel at, what you learned in school determined whether you were chosen or cast aside. Degrees, certifications, and task proficiency were your ticket, and those who learned quickly, studied hard, and did more had the edge. That was the era of doing, of holding, of linear accumulation. But cycle 9 is different. It no longer classifies people by pure skill, but by presence. What is presence? It's the energy you radiate before you do anything. It's the feeling others get when you enter a room. It's how you sit, how you listen, how you look, all before you speak a word. It cannot be faked, crammed into an online course, or purchased with a certification. It's the sum of everything you've thought, believed, chosen, and overcome. It's your inner soul crystallized into a frequency, and in cycle 9, that presence matters more than any skill. You may speak fluently, but if your inner world is tangled, people won't listen. You may know much, but if it comes from arrogance, your words fall flat. You may do the same tasks as someone else, but because your energy differs, your results differ. Some do little, yet make a massive impact. Others do much and remain unnoticed, not for lack of skill, but because their inner state clashes with the times. When your spirit is misaligned, every task feels heavy. When it is aligned, everything flows. Cycle 9 calls you back to yourself, not to shrink, but to deepen. The deeper you go, the more you shine. The more you shine, the further your light spreads, without effort. A person with true inner alignment in this era shows distinct qualities: quiet but not cold, compassionate but not arrogant, sparing in words but weighty in message, never scrambling yet never sidelined, slow in pace yet deep in progress, not chasing yet sought out, not flashy yet reassuring in their presence, not preaching morality yet living it so vividly that their actions speak as the clearest sermon. Most importantly, they live in stillness but emanate a unique wave of their own. You may ask, how do I cultivate such an inner state? There is no shortcut. No one hands you presence or teaches it in a textbook. It forms over years, when you dare to examine yourself, dare to take responsibility, dare to withdraw at the right moment, dare to remain silent when needed, dare to forgive once you understand, dare to endure when victory is not yet required. Winners pass through suffering without hardening. Those wrongly judged never become bitter. Those who lose never lose courage. Those once in power never abuse it. Those once praised remain humble. That is the presence suited to cycle 9. The inner self is not born whole. It is the result of countless falls and rises, held together by steadfast spirit, without shouting or proving, simply living in harmony with oneself. When you live so, you need not chase the tide will seek you. As the ancients said, a calm heart naturally shines, and where there is shining, others follow. In cycle 9, leaders need not shout, they simply show up. Inspirers need no slogans, their energy speaks for them. So, instead of asking, what skill should I learn next? Ask, what energy do I carry when I step into the world each morning? Instead of worrying about keeping pace with others, ask whether you are in tune with yourself. When you align with yourself, you align with heaven and earth. And those who align with heaven and earth need not hurry, for what must come will come. If you feel exhausted by the endless cycle of learning more, doing more, striving more, stop and look inward. Perhaps you lack not skill, but inner awareness. You are out of sync with yourself, and cycle 9 waits for no one. One thing few notice about cycle 9: no one holds a position forever, no matter how talented, how successful, or how eminent they once were. This energy does not favor permanence. It moves like flame, like light, never lingering. Those who cling will find themselves drifting. Those who cling to the old will be repelled by the current of time. In this era, the most crucial asset is not raw talent, but a flexible mindset. Flexible people are not those who simply turn whichever way the wind blows, but those who know when to advance, when to retreat, when to pause, and when to start anew. Flexibility is the ability to adjust yourself to changing circumstances without losing your true essence, and it is the survival skill in cycle 9. Observe those who have grown rapidly over the past 3 years. You will see a common trait. They do not stubbornly cling to old frameworks. They do not trap themselves in outdated models, and they do not assume that one way of doing things will always work. They are willing to relearn from scratch, to abandon their old roles for new ones, to sit quietly as listeners even if they were once leaders, and to let go of what once filled them with pride when it begins to weigh them down. More importantly, they recover quickly after a fall, because cycle 9 is about speed. Those who recover slowly will be left behind. In this era, you cannot control every upheaval, but you can control how long it takes you to recover once it happens. Shocks may come unexpectedly and failures may be beyond your control, but what determines whether you are cast aside is how fast you rise again. Some take 6 months to move past a failure, some take 6 years, and some a lifetime, never fully letting it go. Not because they are weak, but because they lack inner resilience. Those who recover quickly share one characteristic. They do not play the blame game. They do not stall or dwell endlessly. They allow themselves to feel pain, but not to remain trapped in it. They accept failure as part of the journey, extract lessons, realign their path, and start again. It is that swift rebound that keeps them aligned with the prevailing energy. Those who linger too long are swept away, while those who ride the wave despite stumbles can rejoin the race with vitality. So how do you cultivate a flexible mindset and rapid resilience? First, stop insisting that everything must go according to plan. Planning is important, but flexibility prevents you from breaking when plans collapse. Those obsessed with control are vulnerable when life takes a turn. Those who accept change encounter less resistance and more opportunities to transform. Next, cultivate the habit of inner observation. When change strikes, don't react immediately. Breathe, sit quietly, and notice. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? What am I afraid of? What am I clinging to? What can I release to lighten my load? Simply doing this anchors your mind. With your mind steady, any path is traversable. Finally, train yourself in something few practice today, the art of starting over. Don't let a fixed identity harden you. Don't believe you must remain a teacher, engineer, manager, speaker, or expert. If circumstances force you into a new role, embrace it. If the energy of the times demands you adapt. Don't wait until it's too late to learn that the world doesn't need you to keep clinging to a title, but to live genuinely in whatever role you occupy. The truly flexible do not break under failure. They use it as a necessary lesson to reshape their direction, and in cycle 9, such people will travel the farthest. Therefore, you needn't be 100% certain of every action. You only need to be certain of one thing: that you are not stubborn, that you are not afraid to begin again, and that you will not let your mind freeze because of a single fall. That is enough. Among the profound teachings of the ancients, one lesson is repeated again and again. It is not the strongest who survive, nor the most intelligent, but those who adapt. Adaptation does not mean surrender. It does not mean giving up. It means understanding how the current of energy shifts and adjusting yourself to flow with it rather than swim against it. The ancients never taught victory through stubborn force. They taught victory through stillness, through understanding the times, and through knowing when to advance and when to conceal oneself. Look back at history. Those who practiced in chaotic times did not travel the land preaching. They withdrew to the mountains, built humble huts, observed the times, and nurtured their spirit, waiting for the right moment. Those attuned to the cycle did not flaunt their talents before the time was ripe. Those who misunderstood the cycle, no matter how talented, were swept into turbulent lives. Ma-Yi did not appear loudly, yet ultimately prevailed. Zhuge Liang recognized his nation's fate had changed and retired. His blade remained sharp even in obscurity. Wen Trey knew when to serve as an official and when to withdraw. The ancients did not view retreat as failure, but as a way to conserve energy for the long journey. Later generations behaved differently, achieving a little and wanting to hold on forever, gathering followers and feeling compelled to teach the world, mistaking minor setbacks for ultimate doom, and that mindset wears them down amid the currents of change. Remember, the cycle gives no warning. It shifts like the tide. No one can control it, only feel it. The ancients honed their sensitivity by living slowly, observing closely, listening in stillness, and accepting impermanence. They knew that sometimes one must remain silent for a long time to speak a single sentence that changes everything. They understood that certain chapters require withdrawal so they can return lighter, deeper, and sharper. And they did not fear being forgotten, for they did not live to be remembered. They lived to be aligned with the way. In Cycle 9, if you cling to what worked in Cycle 8, you swim against the current. If you cling to an old role when your heart has moved on, you force yourself under unnecessary weight. To flow with the times is to know when you are off kilter. No one demands that you change everything, but those who understand will know when it's time to step back for momentum or pause for deeper reflection. Resisting the current is like a tree growing in the wrong season. It may strain to survive, but it will never bloom. Those out of sync with the cycle live, but they do not flourish. The ancients also taught, those attuned to the times need few words. Those who ride the wave need little force. In cycle 9, if you feel exhausted, stop and ask whether you are flowing with the energy or forcing something dry. If your work no longer nourishes you, don't blame it. See whether your mind is stuck in an outdated identity. If relationships grow heavy, don't sever them hastily. See whether you are clinging to a role that no longer fits. If everything feels like headwinds, don't react. Stand still. The energy may be shifting, and you only need to adjust your stride. A person in harmony with the times does not panic in adversity. They understand that sometimes things must empty before they can fill, that sometimes being left behind reveals one's true self, and that apparent setbacks may actually guide them to the right path. You need not prove anything. Simply keep your mind from swimming against the current, and the cycle will guide you. No one carries the new cycle forward by clinging to old habits. When the cycle shifts, your rhythm of life must shift too. Not because anyone forces you to change, but because without change you will find life growing ever more tiring, more burdensome, and more out of sync. Some things that once fueled your growth, once made you proud, once were your survival secrets, will become burdens if not properly adjusted when the energy shifts. Therefore, to live in harmony with the next 20 years, you must courageously examine what you repeat each day that drains you. What habits you maintain, even though deep down you know they no longer serve, and where you need to begin again to align with the new frequency of the era. The first habit to discard is holding on too tightly. Cycle 8, governed by the Gan trigram of mountains, is calm, so holding on brought success. Cycle 9, governed by the Li trigram of fire and movement, makes holding on exhausting. Holding praise, roles, image, assets, pride, certainty, anything you cling to when the energy no longer supports it will drain you. That doesn't mean you must let go of everything, but you must release at the right time, the right things, and the right weight. The wise in cycle 9 carry only the lightest bag they need to live, to breathe. Everything else they leave behind once its role is complete. The second habit to drop is the "I must know for sure before I act" mindset. Cycle 9 no longer favors perfectionists. You cannot wait for all information, all documentation, all guarantees, all advice before you step forward. By then, the cycle has passed. Those aligned with cycle 9 act amid uncertainty. They aren't rash, but they trust their intuition. They dare to try, to fail, to return, and to restart when necessary. It is this flexibility that keeps them in sync with the times. The third habit to abandon is the need to prove yourself. In cycle 9, soft energy reigns. The loudest voice may not be heard. The most public success may not be believed. The most frequent appearances may not leave a mark. Those desperate to prove themselves lack inner stability. Those truly grounded require no external validation. They pursue growth, but not showmanship. They rise quietly, understanding that this cycle values frequency over volume. Most importantly, let go of depending on others' emotions. Some will like you today and hate you tomorrow. Some will praise you one day and turn away the next. Some will trust you now and doubt you later. You cannot live in that emotional roller coaster, for cycle 9 demands an inner equilibrium that external moods cannot disturb. Those reliant on outside approval lose their core energy. Those who master their own mind retain their path. So what new habits should you sow in cycle 9? First, breathe before reacting. Cycle 9 is fast, technology is fast, the world is fast, but the wise know when to slow down. One deep breath can break the old reaction. One moment's pause can let you choose your words. That gap is where new energy enters. Second, spend time each day observing your inner state. Meditation for hours isn't required, just a few minutes to ask, am I living from essence or reflex? Am I choosing what's right or swept by old habits? Does my action lighten me? Regular self-observation will set you apart from 95% of the crowd. Third, prune your connections. No one thrives for 20 years in a new cycle if surrounded by energy drainers. Reassess your circle. Who truly uplifts you? Who keeps you stuck? Who forces you to perform for acceptance? You need not sever ties entirely. Just distance yourself enough to preserve your energy and your path. Fourth, speak less and do more with depth. Cycle 9 is the cycle of vision, so people believe what they see. Words without practice dilute your energy. People aligned with the new cycle act quietly, but with clear, deep impact. Let your presence speak before your words. From 2025, live as one entering a new 20-year cycle. Live lightly. Live mindfully. Do not cling to old ego. Cultivate inner security so you need less external support. If your habits don't change, the energy won't enter. And without it, this new cycle will pass through your life as though it never stopped by. Here is a hard truth. Many will enter the coming years feeling exhausted without knowing why. They will work, learn, strive, and see no progress. Feel inspiration fading, and their inner world hollowing. It's not for lack of ability, but because they missed the opening of the cycle. Each cycle has a brief doorway moment, an interval when the old recedes and the new arrives. If you notice, adjust, and catch the wave, you flow with it. If not, you continue on old patterns, unaware the energy left you behind long ago. The doorway of Cycle 9 is 2025. In subsequent years, the energy will solidify, the distinctions will deepen rapidly. Those who have adapted will flourish with minimal hindrance. Those who haven't will feel muted, working without praise, striving without recognition, shifting without finding their way, because the energy has locked on as they remain outside. From 2026 on, the world will change on many levels, and the pace will accelerate. You will see quarterly shifts, not annual ones. Technological trends, information flows, even value systems may shift within months. Those who can't keep pace won't be immediately ousted, but they will feel left behind. The invisible pressure rises. No one tells you to change, but if you don't, you will lose connection, not to social media, but to humanity's unfolding current. You will lose inspiration, direction, faith, and ultimately, motivation. Live deeply, for opportunities will no longer be evenly distributed. From 2025, those already awakened will create new value. Those waiting for someone to hand them opportunity will remain at the old station, not for lack of talent, but because they arrived too late. As the ancients said, the pivot moment arrives in silence. The wise feel it with the heart. No one needs to announce it. 2025 is that year. A seemingly ordinary year, yet it's your last chance to look back actively, restructure yourself, recalibrate your life energy, clear your inner clutter, and begin sowing what will serve the next 20 years. After 2025, change will still be possible, but only reactively. When crises force you to stop, when failure triggers panic, when wounds compel you to rediscover yourself. Then change is no longer a choice, but the only solution. Therefore, if you hear this in 2025 and sense a need to adjust, trust that intuition. Begin to slow down, examine your habits, relationships, goals, and pace. Identify what weighs you down and question it. Keep what lightens you close. You need not transform everything in a day. Just turn yourself toward the light. Take one step and then the next, and the cycle will carry you forward for the next 5 years. Those who live mindfully will not only stabilize their finances, health, and inner life, but also create a uniquely personal influence. Those who frantically chase security will find themselves back in old patterns. 2025 is an opportunity. What follows is a challenge, and like any door, it opens only once. We have journeyed together from understanding the currents of energy to analyzing the inner self, habits, professions, and life choices. This isn't to leave you confused, but to show that you needn't race. You only need to move in the right direction. Beginning in 2025 is a precious gift. If you've ever wondered why your efforts yield no results, if you've felt inner unrest despite no external upheaval, if you've seen people with fewer qualifications or a humbler start shoot far ahead, if you felt like you're swimming against a current without knowing why, then you are likely out of sync. Cycle 9 reminds you, the spirit of this era doesn't favor the smarter, the more capable, or the wealthier. It flows with those who live with empathy, authenticity, and harmony. Harmony does not mean submission to others. It means aligning with the way, with nature, with the current of life itself. Those who flow with the times rise, even without fanfare. Those who cling to the old drift away, no matter how hard they thrash. Success in Cycle 9 is not a mountain to climb, but a wave to ride. You need not push with force. You only need to lighten your essence to the right frequency, and the wave will carry you farther than you imagine. As the ancients taught, the swiftest does not always arrive first. The earliest arrival may not endure. Only those who step correctly can travel longest. Over the next 20 years, the world will transform profoundly on every level. Those who awaken in 2025 will experience the most beautiful journey of Cycle 9. Those still asleep in old routines will pay the price with isolation, exhaustion, and self-doubt. No one forces you to change, but if you do not choose transformation, events will compel it. Change while you still can choose, rather than wait until you have no choice. Where to begin? Begin by pausing each day for a few minutes to ask, what energy am I living by? Begin by observing what drains your energy and gradually distancing yourself from those things. Begin by living lightly. No clinging, no forcing, no comparisons. Begin by clearing your inner waters to preserve your spark of light. And begin with courage, the courage not to live as you did yesterday. Thank you for journeying to the end of this message, where words serve only to awaken what has long lain dormant in each of us. Mindfulness, gratitude for life in this shifting era, and the courage to step forward in right timing. May you, from 2025 onward, never spend a day out of sync with the wave to which you truly belong. I look forward to meeting you on the new current of a renewed version of yourself, ready to enter the greatest cycle of your life.